So here's a look at our guy Jerry Palm's number 1 seeds. Gonzaga, Auburn, Arizona, and Kansas. The first 3 are among the betting favorites to win the national title at Caesars Sportsbook. But KU not getting as much love at 16-1 odds. Naturally, Gonzaga, the top dog on the betting board at 5-1. All right, time now for a little bracketology. Senior college basketball writer Jerry Palm joining us here. So what's the fallout here, Jerry, from this top 15 matchup? Texas Tech getting the season sweep over Baylor. What's the committee going to see from this one?
Yeah, it's interesting. These two resumes are pretty similar. The two differences really is that Baylor has played a better schedule and has therefore more quality wins. But Texas Tech won the 2 games between them, and that's not nothing. It's also not everything. But in this case, I think Texas Tech is going to get a slight edge, in part because of the season sweep, and their schedule and quality wins are also very good. But also, I don't think you can overlook Chumwa Chachua's injury being a factor in the mind of the committee. You know, this is the first full game they played without him. They lost. I mean, it's a road game against a very good team, so it's you can't really say that necessarily they don't want it. They had him, and they don't think that way anyway. But the fact that he's not going to play the rest of this year is going to have a bearing on how the committee views Baylor as a whole, because they're going to put a little bit more weight on how Baylor performs from here on out versus how they performed with him. It's not like the other games don't count. It's not that big of a deal, but it's a little bit of a deal. It'll be interesting to see what the committee does with that.
All right, so you're saying that, of course, will be in consideration. Speaking of fallout, let's check in with some of the bubble teams. North Carolina blowing an opportunity for a win last night at home, losing to a Pittsburgh team that's under 500. What do we think about the Tar Heels, Jerry?
Yeah, that's an unmitigated disaster, because the only good thing you could say about North Carolina was they didn't have any bad losses. Their best win is still Michigan, who's not in the bracket. And that's just not going to get it done. I mean, North Carolina can't afford a quad 4 loss when they have nothing really on the good side of the ledger. So I don't know how North Carolina really gets back into the picture, because the problem is, short of beating Duke, who do they beat that helps them in this league? Nobody. So, North Carolina's got a problem, and losing to Pittsburgh was just a disaster for them.
That rematch at Cameron Indoor will be big, and the one at the Dean Dome didn't go so well for UNC. On the flip side, the good comes with Rutgers, 4 straight victories over ranked opponents, an opportunity against your Boilermakers on Sunday, who they already beat. But what do we think about Rutgers here down the stretch?
Yeah, boy, you talk about turning your season around on a dime. I'm trying to think of the last time somebody had done something like this, and I think it was maybe Wisconsin, when Greg Gard replaced Bo Ryan in the middle of the season and things had been going so badly, and then all of a sudden they went on this ridiculous run and ended up winning. I think they won the Big Ten that year. Rutgers is doing something similar. Their resume has got a ton of negatives. They're in the mid-70s of the net for a reason, despite 6 quad 1 wins now after last night. The part of that is that almost all of them came at home, and they won at Wisconsin, and now they're going to get a shot at Purdue, who they already beat, as you pointed out. Teams with this high number of quad 1 wins, but on average, 1 team a year gets left out with 6 or more quad 1 wins. So, you can't bank it yet, but you got to like the role that Rutgers is on, and got to believe at least now they have a chance, which, 2 weeks ago you wouldn't have said that.
All right, let's take a look at this weekend, a big one for bracketologists like yourself, because on Saturday, the NCAA going to reveal their top 16 seeds, our first look to see how some of those teams stack. What are you anticipating, Jerry, and what are you hoping to learn here?
Yeah, well, I think the thing that you learn from this is, what the committee is thinking, because there's turnover on the committee every year. So, things might change in terms of priorities and what this particular committee values more than others. I'll be most curious to see what they do with teams like Wisconsin and Providence, whose metrics don't add up. They've got the high margin of victory metrics like Ken Pom and Sagarin, and actually the net, are not very high on those 2 teams, but the results-oriented metrics like KPI are very high on those teams. And the committee has always said this is a results-oriented process. The margin of victory doesn't mean that much to them. So in a sense, why bother with those metrics? But still, they're there. So I'll be curious to see what they do with teams like Wisconsin and Providence in particular, where the margin of victory metrics just don't match up with what look like really good resumes.
All right, check out Jerry's work, CBSSports.com, and of course on his Twitter page and handle. Jerry certainly appreciate it. Quick reminder, the Bracket Reveal show will be at 12:30 Saturday, right before this big SEC tilt between Kentucky and Alabama, Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS. Of course, the Eye on College Basketball podcast will surely be weighing in on takes of those top 16 teams. Co-host Matt Norlander and Gary Parrish. Download and follow Eye on CBB today.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.